everything will be good. But hello YouTube, welcome to my channel. It's not really, well, it could be welcome back because this channel used to be called Gracie Stars, and I used to do very different type of videos. But now I've decided to turn this account into a different type of channel. It's basically gonna be like reading, like vlogs and stuff, reviews, wrap-ups like this video, and then I might have a little gaming videos, and I don't know, we'll see where this account takes us. But today I'm doing a May reading wrap-up, and I'm a little late to this because the funny thing is I actually tried to film this video like 2 days ago, and I spent the whole day editing it and everything, and then the whole clips, like all the clips, deleted. So I decided I'm going to redo it because I really want to get this video out before the weekends and work on some new projects for this account. But yeah, so the way this video is going to be structured is I'm going to go on Goodreads, in which is where I put all the books I read and like my ratings and my reviews and stuff, and I'm gonna tell y'all like what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about this book, because it was a pretty interesting reading month. I read a lot of books. What I liked some of them, and then some of them were just like not it for me. But I also wanted to say some of the genres I really like are romance, it's like my #1 genre, mystery, and fantasy, and I really love fantasy books. I also want to say that I don't own copies of a lot of these books because I read them on this app called Sora. I'm gonna put it right there, like emoticon for the app. But I read them on this app called Sora, and Sora is basically like this library where if you have a library card, you can just hook it up to the app, and then you can read books from your library, but on like a device. So that's what I do because I don't really have money to be buying all those books. Let's get into my wrap-up because I was just rambling a little bit. The first book I read this month was Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Now I rated it 4 stars out of 5, and I'm first gonna give like how I felt about the book. So when I read this book, because I had read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, and I was like, oh, well, she makes like similar type books, I'm gonna check it out. And when I read Love on the Brain, I was just thinking how they're sort of really similar, except the Love on the Brain is enemies to lovers, and The Love Hypothesis was more so fake dating. But I feel like Love on the Brain was good, but I just wasn't a huge fan on the ending. I felt like it was a bit rushed, a little bit. Like, you know, when it's enemies to lovers, I feel like sometimes it be so much like leading up to it that when they get there, it's like all the tension, all the slow burn, it like dissolves. It just really got boring for me when they got together. It's like, I get it, y'all are together now, but it could still be fun and spontaneous, but it wasn't. But my rating on Goodreads has said engaging, felt a little rushed, and didn't expect the plot twist-ish part. And that's how I really feel about it, because it was good, and it was a lot like the Love Hypothesis. So if you read The Love Hypothesis and you really liked it, I think you should read Love on the Brain. But it just wasn't what I thought it would be, because when I first like started it, I was really engaged in like the story and stuff. I really liked B as a character, which is the girl in this book, and I felt like it was a good book, but it was just slow towards the end for sure. The second book I read this month was Good Girl Bad Blood, which is a book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. And I rated that one a 3 stars out of 5, and I did that because I just felt like the whole series, well, actually not the whole series, because I really liked the first book. I rated the first book like 4 stars. I read it around my birthday time, and I was on hold for this book for like 2 months, I'd say, because my birthday was in March and I got it in like May. I got it in May. So I was on hold for it for a long time, so it built up like in my brain, I kept thinking about like what could happen in the second book, because I felt like the first book ended kind of in a spot where we didn't really need a second book. But yeah, I was kind of thinking how they expand into something like with the first book's plot in the second book. And when I read the second book, it was like they kind of didn't do that at all. They just started a whole new mystery. At first, it was really boring for me, and it was really hard for me to get into this book for that reason. And since it was a long gap between me reading them, it was hard for me to remember like some of the characters, some of the stuff what happened, like distinctive details. But when I read this book, I liked like the ending part, and I liked the last 50%. It was very fast for me, but it just felt really slow at the start, and then I was kind of not upset but disappointed on how they didn't connect like to the first book as much as I thought it would. My rating on Goodreads had said, my review on Goodreads, my bad, it said fun but took me long to get into and really picked up at the end. And that's how I feel about it. But at the same time, if you really like mystery books, I think you would really like this series, because it's a lot more mystery focused than like romance focused, because I knew that this book had a romance subplot, and a lot of people talked about on here, like not on here but more so TikTok, like how the love interest is just this great guy and stuff, and I wanted to read it for that reason. And then we didn't get to see much of him. I feel like not much of him in like the last two books, and that kind of disappointed me a little bit, just a little bit though, because I get it's a mystery book. That's why I'm saying if you really like mystery, I think you should read it, and you might like it more than I did. Next book I read this month was Every Summer After. I rated it 5 stars, which is probably, I think, my only 5-star read this month. I've been having a hard time finding 5-star reads, if I'm being honest. It's been like pushing and pulling with certain books, but that's besides the point. I rated Every Summer After 5 stars, and I rated it 5 stars because I read it in a day, and I really liked the vibes of it. It was childhood friends to lovers, and it was like a romance summer book, and I just really liked it. There was this trope at the end though, now that I think about it, what I hate. And it could have made me drop the book to a 4, but then I felt like it wasn't touched on as much as I didn't need it to, because I didn't want it to be touched on. And it was kind of more towards the end of the book, and I was already like so happy like with all the stuff what was happening, that I just kept it 5 stars. But the trope at the end I do not like, and I don't think I want to see it in any other books. But I kind of predicted it the whole book, and I didn't want to be right, and I was right. So there's that. But it was a really good book, and if you want to read like a book with like the summer vibes and stuff in it, I recommend it. My rating on Goodreads has said so cutesy, well written, and fast paced. Devoured it in a day. Little predictable but very fun. And that's how I feel about it. I think it was a good book, but the trope at the end, it could have really threw it out, but I thought it was still good. Next book I have read this month was As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. Oh my god, I haven't been saying the authors. My bad. Which was the 3rd book in a Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy, and I rated it 3 stars as well. But I like this one, like if I could actually rate it not by stars, like by, how do I say this, by half stars, I'd rate it at 3.5, because I like this one a lot more than the second book. The second book was really boring to me, but this one I got through a lot easier, because it kind of tied everything in the whole series, and I see the vision of it now. I predicted a lot of stuff what happened in these books in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy. Like in the first book, there was this mystery, and I predict basically who had done it, and I was right. And then in the second book, it was a mystery, and I had just made a random guess on who done it, and I was right. And then in not really who done it, but who was involved. And then in the last book, it was a mystery, and I once again put it together who it was, and I was right. And see, the thing about that is, it felt a little predictable, if that makes sense. But then at the same time, it was like things would throw you off, but still in my heart, I knew who the murderer was. Murderer? Or the people involved with the stuff. It's not really murder. My rating on Goodreads my review, oh my gosh, why do I keep saying rating? My review on Goodreads, it said, the ending will forever haunt me, feel so robbed, but it really picked up on the second part. And yeah, I had a hard time getting through the first part of this book too. I don't know, the last two books kind of really were a little slow for me, but this one was a lot faster. Like, it picked up in like 30-40%ish. And the ending of this book, come on now. I don't like thinking about it because I'm still left wondering, and I don't like that. And yeah, I feel robbed, but the next book I have read this month was Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Person. I hope I'm saying her name right. Y'all might flame me for this one. I'm sorry, but I rated it a 2 out of 5. I don't even know what to say about that. See, I know Dance of Thieves is a duology after this trilogy called The Remnant Chronicles. I read the first book in The Remnant Chronicles. I rated like a 3 stars? Something like that. I rated it 3 stars. I liked it, but I had to listen to an audiobook, and I felt like the audiobook was kind of iffy for me. And then I was going to continue it and read the second one and the third one, but I was on hold for Dance of Thieves. And my hold had ended, and I decided I was just going to hop into it because I heard people say you only had to read the first one to really understand Dance of Thieves-ish. I read Dance of Thieves, and I didn't really like it. And I didn't like it because I felt like it was a lot more romance driven than I really thought it would be. And it's a fantasy book, so I'm thinking y'all should be spending more time like on the political stuff, if that makes sense, and like world building and stuff, because it's the first book in the series, rather than them like automatically falling in love with each other. But would I say automatically? I feel like it was kind of love at first sight. Not love at first sight, because they're supposed to be enemies, but they weren't really enemies to me. It's like their rivalry was really petty to me. And I have read the Crow Prince series, which is another enemies to lovers fantasy book, and that's the reason I have read Dance of Thieves. But I feel like the Crow Prince series handled enemies to lovers in a better way than Dance of Thieves did. But to me, it just was really kind of boring. Like, I had liked the first part of it, but then towards the end, I was just like, okay, wrap it up. But I am going to read the second book in the series because it might pick up. I heard the second book is like more fantasy-ish, not romance driven. My review on Goodreads has said so slow for me and only picked up at the very end. At the end, like the last 95%, like 95% in the book, it had picked up. And now that I think about it, that part was good. That's why I want to read the second book though, because the ending was good. It just was slow for me. And maybe it's because I didn't read all the Remnant Chronicles books, but I understood what I had listened to in the first book, if that makes sense. Next book I read this month was Blood Like Magic by Lazille Sambury. I hope I'm saying her name right. But this is also a fantasy duology. I have rated it 4 stars out of 5, and I really like this book, and it was gonna be a 5-star read because like I like the way the characters are written, I like the representation in this book, I had like the fantasy aspect. I felt like it was very plot driven, but it was plot driven because she had like this task and she had to complete this task, and it was driven on that, but then the task was kind of surrounded, like the focus was love. So I just felt like it was written very well. I only rated it a 4 because the ending of the book really threw me off, and I just didn't like the ending at all. Well, not at all, but not a lot. It kind of just made me like, the last like 20% of the book just wasn't what I thought was gonna happen or what should have happened. And I get it because it's probably leading up to the next book, and that's why I'm gonna read it, but I have to buy it. So yeah, I really like the love interest in this book. I felt like the couple was really cute, but then it just, you have to read the book because I don't want to give too much away, and it's like spoilers and stuff, but it's a really good book. It's just the ending really threw me off. My review on Goodreads, it says, started off fast for me and was very invested. Ending was just F for me though, but fun read. And that's how I feel. And I really want to read the second book, but I don't got money. And my school library doesn't have to. So I'll have to buy it. I'll buy it soon though. Then the last book I had read this month was Freddy's Shadow Cards and the Disney Descendants School of Secrets. It's the second book in the series. And if I'm being honest, I own this book in hard copy. It's right up there. But I own this book in hard copy, and I had read it when I was younger, and I really liked it. So I decided to reread it and see like why I liked it so much. And I rated it 3 stars out of 5, and I was just like, I can see why I liked it so much when I was younger, because of course I was younger, but it just was not much to say about it because it was kind of, it wasn't boring, it was just plain. And I feel like it didn't do Freddy's character justice. Like, they try to introduce characters from like the Princess and the Frog because her dad is Dr. Facilier, basically the Shadow Man. And they try to bring characters from Princess and the Frog and put them in the book, but then they didn't even do that. And I'm like, okay. I didn't even write a review for it because I just didn't know what to say about it. I read it in a day because it's a little short book, but that's really it. So this month I have read seven books, which is, it's okay. I used to read like 8 books a month, but recently I've been getting into like reading slump, and it'd be a struggle to get out. And I had gotten into a reading slump reading the Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy because I just thought it was really slow for me. But that's really all for this video. Thank you for watching it the whole way through because I just be rambling. But I hope you guys enjoyed this May reading wrap up, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and y'all like and subscribe. But that's really it. I'm trying to think. Bye bye, my Pookie Bears.